one of the city's biggest financial challenges, the roughly $1 billion shortfall in the city pension fund. I checked with Dan McGowan today. More than 70 million taxpayer dollars a year in each budget now are being put into the pension fund, sometimes to pay benefits in the six-figure range. David, this question will start with you. Do you think pensions should be reduced to help lower the shortfall in the pension fund, or should they be paid in full?
The pensions are a huge problem, but we need to pay the pensions off as fast as possible, but we also need to figure out a way to actually bring the costs down, the burden in the city of Providence. Every year, mostly, taxes go up in one form or another through fees or income property taxes, but that's something we need to tackle immediately. But yeah, right now we're on the verge of either bankruptcy or raising taxes, because right now it's out of control. That's $70 million a year we could be reinvesting into our school system, and it's a difficult task. We may have to raise some kind of tax just to pay it off. I don't support taxes at all, but it might have something come down the road. It's either that or bankruptcy. But I think we need to pay it off as fast as possible before we can start reinvesting back into our city and schools.
All right, Mark Santos, same question. Do you think pensions should be reduced to help lower the shortfall, or should taxpayers pay them in full?
I mean, I would argue that with the way we should approach it, I think is in more than one way. I mean, I think we have to, pensions are deferred wages. I mean, they're a contract, a promise, that the city has made to working people. So I think that we should try and avoid as best we can reducing or breaking a promise that we've made, if we can. No, that may mean that we need to have some sort of grand bargain. I know that's the phrase that the mayor has used a number of times, to try and get kind of all the players at the table and see if there is some way to reduce the pension burden. But I don't know that looking at the pensions by themselves is the way to think about it, because I think we also have to think about the revenue side as well. There are things that we can do to bring in more money in the city that might enable us to, keep people whole and pay for the things that we want to, or at least approximate that. We have something like 40-45% of the land in this city owned by anchor institutions that don't pay taxes. They pay payments in lieu of taxes, which are way, way below what the land that they own would be taxed if it were privately owned, and way below what universities and hospitals pay in Boston, a city that also has a lot of land owned by those same entities. We give away a lot of money in tax subsidies and tax breaks for high-end residential and to try and bring in outside businesses, which I think, I'm very skeptical that those things tend to work. So to me, those are things that we should be looking at to try and increase revenue at the same time. I think, to me, a grand bargain involves the whole thing, right? Looking at how we raise revenue and also what we owe and what we need to pay and what we need to invest in. So that's the way I would look at it.
Dan, same question. Do you think the pension should be reduced to help lower the shortfall, or should taxpayers put in the money to pay them in full?
I don't think it's that simple, Ted. I think realistically it's a huge problem. It's over $1 trillion that faces cities and towns and states all over this country. When you add the federal government, it comes to almost $2 trillion. And a simple answer like paying them in full or cutting pensions doesn't remedy the problem. What really needs to happen is we need to look at all things that are possible. We certainly need to show that pensions that have been already granted and pensions that have already been earned should be the last thing on the chopping block until we look at other possible remedies. How we fill that gap? If anybody had the simple answer, they wouldn't be running for city council, they'd be running for the President of the United States.
All right, thank you. Nirva, finally to you on the pensions. Put the money in to pay them in full, or should they be reduced?
And I agree with a few people on this table, is that the pension issue didn't happen overnight. It's been an issue that, for us to get to the point that we are right now, it's taken many years. And so the one thing that we need to make sure that we're doing is not adding more to the debt that currently exists. And also bringing other key players to the table to figure out how to address the issue. And I also agree that we have to figure out how, if we're allowing developers and some of our nonprofits, and we're spending millions of dollars on incentives, then we need to figure out how can the city benefit from that as well. And so it's not a simple answer. We're not going to resolve it overnight. But what we do need to do is to think about, bring multiple people to the table to think about how we can collectively come up with solutions to address the pension problem.